Oops. Are we live? So funny.
Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. It's ladies' night. It is ladies' night, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Welcome, all the radical ladies. Probably got some men out here in internet land. And Toya and I are here. Hello, Linda. Linda Pritchett. She says hi, Toya.
Hi.
We got a lot of them coming on. And all right, ladies. So Toya and I are here with Devon Franklin, and tonight is going to be a very intriguing, enlightening night. It's going to be about his book. He's the author, a renowned author of the book entitled "The Truth About Men." And so, Devon, we want to welcome you.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. You have no idea how grateful I am. I mean, you are just an inspiration. So to be here on the show is truly amazing. So thank you.
Well, we had to connect virtually. I think before we tried to connect with you, and we enjoyed the movie that you sent, and you had some other obligations in your schedule, but I'm glad it worked out tonight here in virtual land, as they say.
Virtual land. I love it.
Virtual land. Internet land.
So yes. God makes a way.
Yeah. What were you about to say? Sorry to cut you off. Uh-oh.
Okay, there we go. We're here.
Okay. I think he's frozen.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got your audio, but your video, your visual is uh-oh. Okay, you went back out, coming back in. Come on, ladies, come on in here.
Hi, everybody logging in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people logging on.
Yeah. Cynthia Minor. Cynthia says we can't see. They can't see you.
They can't see me. It may be on your side. Let me see, because I'm sharing my camera, so there may be something that you need to click on.
Okay, how's now, ladies? Is that better? Let us know. Just type in if you can see Devon, if you can see all of us.
No, it's still. I just put up the YouTube. It's still black.
Oh wow.
That is so weird. Okay, I may have to log out. All right, let me log out. I'll come back in.
Okay.
No problem.
Well, that gives everybody a chance to get settled.
Mm-hmm. Jessica's helping us out. Jessica, thank you, darling. Mm-hmm. Hello, hello. Ladies' night. Wish I had the song.
Oh, I know.
We'll add something. We got the background this week, which we didn't have last week. So maybe
next week, theme music.
That's right. Yeah. Hi, Rita. Okay. Let's see. He had logged back in just yet.
Okay.
What's your favorite binge show, Toya, that you've enjoyed during the quarantine?
I'm not really a TV watcher. I don't watch much TV at all. I do watch Insecure, though. That's one of I do keep up with Insecure. So it happened the new season started a couple of weeks ago. So I have been up to date on that. But other than that, in my mind, I want to binge watch something, but I just never get around to it.
But Insecure, I'm so proud of her.
Yes.
Is her real name Issa Rae? Right?
Issa Rae, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Really good show. So I do watch that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's your guilty pleasure, as they say.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you got to find things to do now, find things to watch and engage yourself in, to pass the time away so you don't, go crazy at home.
That's right.
Oh, there we go. Looks like we're here. Looks like we're working.
Yes.
Okay, don't do anything else.
All right.
We won't touch anything. Oh gosh. Are we there? Uh-oh.
What about now?
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right. Well, Devon, I hope you're ready. We have so many questions that we're not going to have all the time to finish all of them. We already know.
All right. I look forward to it. I'm ready. I'm in
You
the
ready?
hot seat.
You got
I'm ready.
You just, hey, it is about to be on and popping. The streets, we need some answers. The women of God are on the line, and we just admire the stance that you take, being a man of faith, and just how you love your wife and love God. And so we just believe that God will speak to you tonight and shed some light. That's what this is all about.
Amen. Amen. I'm excited to share some light and, see if I can make it through.
We're going to give you some mercy. Okay, Tori, you want to go first?
Sure. I'll jump right in. And first, for the people who are just logging in, Pastor Taffy mentioned the name of your book, The Truth About Men. That book, was it written when you wrote that book, The Truth About Men? Were you writing it with men in mind or with women in mind? And this is a leading question. I have a question behind this question, but the initial question is: were you writing the book with men in mind or with women in mind?
Information that, first of all, that men don't have about themselves. In mind, because I know that there's knowledge that we need. As men, we got to learn how to be the men that God created us to be. And I also wanted the book to be a manual for women to learn about us. And here's what I've also discovered. So many women who've read this book to themselves. You guys are having
Yeah, you were freezing for a moment, so we didn't get the last part of what you said.
iPad and see if that.
Okay. I think this whole virtual thing is new for all of us, so
I know. Hang in there, hang in there, hang in there.
Yes, it would be great if technology worked all the time.
That's right, all the time. But that's the thing, you never know.
Yeah.
And you just hope for the best. You all come on in. Those of you who are just joining, you right on time.
Right on time.
We hadn't missed anything. It said the sound is going in and out, so hopefully his audio will be a little better when he comes back in this time around, because I didn't hear the answer to the question. I don't know if you were able to make it out, Toya.
Just bits and pieces. He was going in and out. And I think he said he was going to try to log in on his iPad to see if that he could get a better signal that way.
Okay. Jackie says, I need some answers. She's hanging on to the end. And the funny thing, with Instagram, it'll kick us off after an hour. So we may just have to, I don't know, maybe we'll figure out how to edit it, maybe put part of it on Instagram. We'll figure it out that way.
Okay.
But it's coming, ladies. It's coming.
Be patient with us.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get all the answers, or as many as we can. Okay.
Come on now.
All right.
We're back.
Okay. So this is good. It look like you can see me.
Yes.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Here we go. Take 3.
Now, Devon, 2 strikes.
Okay, we're going to go back to the first leading question because I think you're going out on that question about your book, The Truth About Men, which you can get right now wherever books are sold, I'm sure. When you wrote that book, was it with men in mind or with women in mind?
You know, I actually wrote the book with both men and women in mind because I feel like, one, there's a lot of misinformation out there about us as men. And as men, we don't always know ourselves. And women, I don't think, always understand us. So I wanted to write this book so that men and women would get a better understanding of what the real truth about us as men may be, because that truth is critical to, one, for us to become the men we were called to be, and for our relationships to improve. So often our relationships are not what they could be because there's not enough truth in it. And I wanted to write the book to be able to tell the truth so that we can become the men we were created to be, and so that women can learn more about us. But here's what I've discovered. Women who have read this book are saying that the book is actually helping them learn even more about themselves. So that was something very fascinating that I wasn't anticipating, but that's some of the feedback that I've got.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And the reason I told you that was a leading question for the next.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're asking that is because, of course, Pastor Taffy does women's ministry, women's conferences worldwide. And we do that in tandem together. And we found that we're doing all this great work with women, and we're doing these conferences and workshops and books and all these learning opportunities for women to learn about relationships and different things like that. And it seems that there isn't a lot of the same for men in terms of men gathering together to learn, to do the work, to do their individual work, maybe on individual basis. But what do you think about that in terms of men actually taking initiative to grow and get better and develop from a relationship standpoint?
Yeah, I think that, one, we as men have to do it. It's necessary. It's critical, especially when you look at the church. It's a conversation that has not been had often enough, consistently enough. And so I think one of the reasons why we have not seen as many men engage in these sort of conversations is because, one, I think that it has to be designed in the right way. And I also think that it has to be marketed in the right way, because as men, we're not conditioned to communicate. So any event that feels like, oh, I'm going to get together and share my feelings, most men are like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not ready for that. So as a result, we stay away. So I think one of the reasons why the church hasn't had more of those is that, one, as an institution, we have not focused enough on it. Secondarily, like when you look at a lot of the conferences, all the conferences, if we're just being honest, are geared towards women because economically women support the foundation of those conferences. So when you're planning an event, you're going to go to who your core audience is so that you can plan a successful event. So I think a lot of times the practicality of that is what has led to more women focused faith events. But this book, the reason why I wrote it, and what I'm hoping to start with this book, we as men got to start doing our part. Whether we're in the church, out of the church. I don't believe that we as men have fully stepped up and taken on the responsibility that we should. And a lot of it has to do with not always walking in truth, not knowing how to communicate, not always honoring the women in our life in the way that they should be honored. And so I think that if we as men can get right, then that will help so many other challenges in our families, our community, begin to go away.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So like you mentioned, men don't necessarily like to get together and share their feelings. Women, we'll do that in a minute. We may not even know how we feel. That's just how we are. Why Why is that taboo for men? Why is that a no that men don't want to get together and talk about their feelings?
Yeah, men don't want to get together and talk about their feelings is because a lot of it is how we were raised and conditioned. So, we were raised to kind of live in this box of what manhood is. So, society says manhood, men are tough, men don't speak, men don't cry, men don't show emotion. And so what happens as men, as we grow up, as we get raised up, if we show any type of emotion, if we cry, if we're overly verbal, most men are met with violence. Stop crying. What's wrong with you? Stop acting like a girl. Toughen up. Man up. So as a result, to fit in the box, we hold it in. We don't communicate. We don't talk. And then what begins to happen as we grow older, we realize we need to communicate, but we don't know how to communicate. So when we hold it in, that's when we begin to find ourselves doing things that work against who we want to be, because anything that we suppress persists. Anything that we're in denial about destroys us. So as a result, we have all these feelings, we don't know what to do, but they don't go away. They just become a part of the pressure cooker. And some men turn to vice to deal with it. Some men to turn to other negative things. But this is why there's not a lot of communication. It's because we're conditioned to not value it. But as we get older, we realize the very thing we need for our survival is that communication. We've got to learn how to talk. We've got to learn how to express our feelings. We've got to learn to get off what's on our chest so that we can really become the men that God called us to be. And when you look at who we follow, Jesus, he was the ultimate communicator. He even wept. So if Jesus wept, what does that say about manhood and what that model should look like for us?
Love that.
So if there's a wife or girlfriend or fiance on that's watching and they're like, man, that's my husband, that's my boyfriend, that's my fiance, he won't communicate with me, he won't open up to me, he won't share his feelings with me, what would you say is a good practice, or how as a woman do you approach a man who in his mind is not very open or vulnerable in that way?
Yeah, I think the way to do this is first and foremost, you got to start small, and even before you start trying to get him to communicate, the thing that is so important is to accept him where he is, because so often we don't accept our spouse. This is both, men and women. Like, sometimes as a husband, I may have a hard time accepting where, Megan is. And sometimes as a wife, she may have a hard time accepting where I am. It's really important. If you want to get your man to open up, you got to accept him first where he is. Because if you don't accept him, you're going to be bringing all that negative energy to why don't you change, and why can't you communicate, and why? And underneath the why, the communication is you're not good enough and there's something wrong with you. When has anyone ever changed when they've been made to feel that something was wrong with them? So first, it starts with acceptance. The second thing is that it just starts with asking questions about the things that he's already interested in. If you want to get him to starting to communicate, instead of going to the area that you may want the most, build the habit of communication by saying, let's just say he's interested in sports, right? And his favorite team is, I'm a Warriors fan. So let's say he's a Steph Curry fan. If you really want to communicate, you could get the schedule of the games and you could figure out, oh, okay, here's when the games are. And you could ask him the next day, yo, how did Steph do last night? How did that go? And then he's probably gonna be like, what you mean? Like, yeah, he was great. Right? Because what it shows is that, oh, you aren't just interested in communication on your terms. You're interested in also meeting me where I am.
Right.
And I believe that as a man feels that and knows that from his wife, it begins to build the practice of communication. And it also begins to build the practice of knowing that she's interested more in not just what she wants to hear, but also what he wants to talk about. The other thing that's really important, I have a whole chapter on this in the book, The Truth About Men. Create a safe space. A safe space. Because of our conditioning as men, fit in a box, met with violence, don't cry, don't communicate. We are terrified to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But vulnerability leads to victory. So in order for us to open up, we've got to have a safe space. What is a safe space? A safe space is a place where we can talk openly without fear of judgment, without fear of being put down.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times, women come to me and they say, hey, I want them to open up. But then it's like, okay, do you want the truth? But can you handle the truth? Because I can tell you right now, if a man gives the woman his truth and she cannot handle it and she gets mad at him or makes him feel small, he will never open up to her again. So in many, say it again, Pastor Taffy.
Gotta handle the truth. Devon, is that?
You got to handle it. You want the truth, but can you handle it? And part of handling it, here's how you do it. Again, I don't mean to go off on a tangent on this question, but it's really important.
God.
So if your man drops something on you that you don't know what to do, right? You've asked him to be honest. You've asked for the truth. He tells you the truth. It is better to just take it in and say, You might be screaming in your head. You may want to go over and jump over across the table. But before you do that, just say, okay. Thank you for your truth. I'm gonna be right back. Let me run to the bathroom. Remove yourself from the situation. Okay. Go get clear. All right. Go get clear. So that then when you come back, you have a level head and you're not allowing whatever the emotion may be to disrupt the communication. Because even if you don't want to hear it, when he opens up and he starts to give you that truth now is what you want. But when it's difficult, you may say, oh, how could you? And how could you think that? He will never do it again. So in order to keep it open, you've got to, if you don't know what to say, don't say nothing at all. Get your mind right and then reapproach the conversation.
2 points. Accept them where they are and handle the truth.
There it is. Absolutely.
Ooh, that's you asking a lot. You said take it in and suck it up.
I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to help any woman right now, because if you go off the handle or it's gonna work against what you want.
Yeah.
You really want him to tell you everything and talk about it and have that safe space where he comes to you before he starts to seek someone else out.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Yeah.
Now, what about this? So let's say one of those truths is, and you talk about this in your book as well, the idea that all men cheat and all men are dogs. Can you address?
Let's unpack it.
Can we have a minute to just talk about the idea that all men cheat? Like, a lot of women have that, in the back of their minds, that I'm not going to put 100% trust in a man because he is going to cheat. All men do it. Yeah. Please tell us your perspective on that.
Okay, so a couple things. One, when I was growing up, I was raised by my mother. My father died when I was young, so I was raised by my mother, my grandmother, and my grandmother's 7 sisters. And so, me and my brothers had a front row seat to all of the ups and downs that they experienced with the men in their lives. And as a result, growing up, I began to ask the question, hey, so do all men cheat? And I was young. It was even before I was dating. I was like, hey, do all men cheat? And they said, yeah, 99% of all men cheat. I was like, what? I was like, is this just the fact of the universe? The sun rises, the sun sets, and in between, men are going to cheat. That's just what it is. So I personally became fixated with figuring out if this is the truth. And as I got older in my teenage years, I discovered a stunning revelation that my father, years before he had passed away, had cheated on my mother with another woman in our family. And I found a picture that basically told the story, and I was devastated. And so again, This idea, do all men cheat? And as I've gotten older, the answer is no, not all men cheat. However, more men cheat. I mean, there are a lot more men cheating as women cheating than is healthy. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book, is because I wanted to get underneath the hood. Why do men cheat? Why do women cheat? And here's what I discovered. What I discovered is that every man, and I think this is true for women, but I focused on men in the book because I think there's so much information out there for women, but there's not enough geared towards men. So what I'm going to say, a woman listening to this could say, oh yeah, I relate to that, but I'm talking about from a male point of view. One of the reasons why men cheat is to the point, Toya, that you were saying in the question. We as men are not dogs. I don't believe that. But I do believe that every single man wrestles between two things: love and lust. Love of himself, love of God, love of the woman in his life, love of family. Love is selfless. Lust is selfish. Lust is any detrimental impulse for women, sex, money, power, fame, position, prominence. And I call in the book love the master. I call lust the dog. In order for us to be the men God called us to be, we have to master the dog. We have to put love over lust. When we as men allow lust to rule over love, we will become what that lust makes us. We will cheat. We will go out of our marriage. We will break our commitment. Why? Because that dog in us, that lust, is running and ruining our life. Think about an untrained dog. An untrained dog wants what it wants. It wants pleasure with no accountability. It wants to do what it wants to do whenever it wants to do it. And if that dog is not disciplined, it will be a nuisance to itself and anyone it comes in contact with. So as men, if we don't discipline ourselves, if we don't discipline and get control over our lust, we become a liability and a nuisance to ourselves and everyone else. So this is why so many men cheat, is because we have been conditioned to give ourselves over to lust. I mean, think about the marketing. Think about what we watch. Think about how much is conducive to feeding that lust. But how often do you see images of staying faithful? How often do you see images of saying, oh, you're with one woman? Great. When I was growing up, if I wasn't dating two or three, they would say, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, man? And so as men, we're taught manhood backwards. So no, I don't. I believe a man can be faithful. I do. I know men can be faithful, but a man has to look in the mirror and make a hard decision. Who do I want to be? Do I want to be a man that inflicts pain or heals pain? And if I don't get control of my lust as a man, I inadvertently will become a man that inflicts pain. If I get control of my lust and I master that dog within, then I will become a man who is able to help heal the pain. And I believe this is the key. No one talks about it. I've been raised in the church my whole life, saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. All I was told growing up was don't have sex. That's it. Nobody talked to me. Why? Nobody taught me how to deal when you get horny. How do you deal with those feelings? Nobody taught me anything. So then as a man, you just left to go out there and figure it out. And this is why there's so many challenges in our families, because it goes back to issues that started before marriage even happened. So as a man, we've got to get control of our lust. We've got to master this dog. I don't believe lust ever goes away. It's there, but we can get control of it if we choose to start the process as soon as possible.
Wow.
That's good.
Amen.
This was a question that came over from Deneen. She says she heard a man say that he was dating 3 women. He'd like to marry all 3 because they all bring different things that he likes. What can a man do about this? Or as a woman, how should we address this issue? And maybe a little bit about, because sometimes women feel like that men won't commit. And that's a big thing, just in terms of what takes a man the decision to settle down. Of course, you have a beautiful wife, and you can expound on talking some about, answering her question. I know kind of loaded a lot of different things for me. Sorry about that.
We just jumping right in. Let's go. So here's the thing. We are in a time right now where in our culture, there is this polyamorous vibe that's going around.
It is. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, well, you don't have to choose one. You can have multiple. All right. So let me try to unpack this quickly, because I know you got a lot of questions. For that man, I would challenge that man on his lust, because, especially if it's a man of faith, I go back to, let's go back to Genesis. Adam was the one. God said it's not good for man to be alone, right? So he creates the birds and the beasts first. That still doesn't satisfy man's loneliness. And so as a result, he creates a woman. He didn't create two women. He didn't create three women. He created a woman. And Adam said, this is the cure. She's the cure for my loneliness. She is the cure for what I've been missing. I have all these possessions, didn't feel the hole in my soul. But she is the one that fulfills me emotionally, spiritually, mentally, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. So for the man who believes that it's the three women, I would argue that he's allowing his lust to run his life. And as a result, he's pulling from each one of those women. But fundamentally, he's not allowing himself the power and the challenge and the reward of committing to one. He that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains the favor of the Lord. Not he who finds many wives. It's very easy as a man to have many different women. But you want to know a man who can commit to one. That takes work. That takes focus. That takes commitment. Much more about a man to commit than to play. The second thing I would say is that if you are one of these women, you're one of the three. Remove yourself right now. Because if in fact this man was ever going to make a decision about one of the three, he will only do it because of pain. What pain? The absence, your absence. Your absence can cause the pain to make him rethink his whole decisions. Wait, I can't live without her. Woo! Well, okay, all right, I'm gonna let these other two go because she's the one I really want. Right? I'm not saying play a game. I'm just saying take yourself out of the game. I'm not competing, especially if that's not what you want.
Right.
If you don't want to be one of the three, then don't be one of the three.
Right.
And don't let him talk you into anything else.
Right.
It's so important. Let's go back to Adam and Eve real quick. When Eve came in the earth, she didn't say, where is Adam? Eve was the one that had two ribs. Adam only had one. He was the one who had the need for her. She came into the earth whole. So if you allow that man to keep you as one of the three, he's trying to make you think you need him more than he needs you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, that's good.
You ain't playing multiple choice with me. No, you're not. No. It's a yes or no question. Do you want to be with me or do you not? Yes or no. You ain't getting A, B, and C. I ain't one of them. That's what I would say to her.
That's good.
That is good. I am not one of the three. My goodness.
And on that point,
listen,
let's say you're single. We have single women who are watching. And there's this thing also where, it's kind of like, I don't believe in titles. We don't have to have a title. Let's just kind of hang out, see where it goes. Or you're in these dating or courtship, maybe not even courtship, probably more so dating situations for years with kind of being strung along. How do you know when to say, okay, you don't know what you want? How do you kind of gauge? Is it just a thing you have to wait until he's ready? Or how do you gauge if he's playing games? That whole, that whole vibe. The
Yes,
vibe.
Toya, I know. Dear Lord, listen, I just pray anyone who's in this scenario, I pray you listen to me, please. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to liberate you.
Yeah.
Because this is where if we date better, we marry better. If we marry better, we parent better. If we parent better, we family better. It all goes back to dating.
Absolutely.
So to your question, the number one thing a woman, I believe, needs to discern with the man that she is dating, is he there to play or is he there to stay?
How do you
determine if a man is there to play or he's there to stay? One, you got to give it time. Two, you got to preserve your perspective. You know what? It's going to depend on every situation.
We're not waiting 2, 3,
number one,
5 years. It's got to be a
no. But what I'm getting ready to say for the second point will help the timeline of the first point. The second point is preserve your perspective to see the relationship clearly. How do you do that? Again, I'm not going to tell anybody how to live. I'm just going to suggest what could help you in your perspective. If you are not having sex with him, your perspective will be clearer than if you are.
Yes.
Because think about a man. If he has spent hours, thousands of hours perfecting his ability to have sex, you could be reacting to the sex, and that sex becomes a mask where it feels so good, it creates that chemical reaction, it makes an unhealthy connection, and it becomes a smoke screen. So your perspective is foggy. So you can't really see who he is or what's going on because of the sex. The sex has clouded your judgment.
Right.
So if you were to remove sex, what happens is that now you can discern better if he's there to play or stay.
So the sex will be so good that you don't even know 5 years gone by.
There you go. Seriously, let's be honest.
No,
really. You know the 5 years have gone by, but you've created excuses for why it's okay. What I want, and I know this sounds crazy, but I want women to get single women to get their time back and their body back. And the more that you preserve your body, I think the more you're going to get your time back, because it's going to weed out the man. The book I wrote is there to help men. There are some men that may not get the book. They may not want to improve. Does that mean a woman is helpless? No. You're not helpless or hopeless when you have the knowledge. As Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. So for a woman in that situation, I would not allow yourself to be strung along. No, sorry. No, I'm not going to do that. Either you're interested or not. I would say, truly after like 3 months, if somebody is heading towards commitment or not. Really important. Here's the other thing I'm gonna say about it. You said something in the question, Toya, which I thought was interesting. A lot of women are saying, oh, you know what? We don't need titles. We don't need, okay. So my former job before I started my company was at Sony Pictures Entertainment. And based upon your title, based upon your Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Based upon your title, there were certain benefits that came with each title. And if you did not have that title, you couldn't qualify for certain benefits.
All right.
So what I would encourage a woman is to not fall prey to that. Because if a man is trying to keep the edges blurry, it's because there are others that he usually is trying to keep, blurry. And you're over here thinking that you have a certain title with him. You're giving him whatever those benefits are with that title. But he himself knows if he hasn't told you he's committed, in his mind, he's not.
Right.
So I wouldn't even allow yourself a situation where it's kind of open-ended, unless you like gambling, unless you like playing Russian roulette. It's your life. It's your time. It's your body. You can do whatever you want with it. You got to decide what you want.
Right. Right. That's good. That's really good.
Y'all asked. I'm just answering.
No, it's a good word. It's a good word because in the dating scenario now, the rules are a little different, than they have been traditionally. So women are navigating all these different scenarios of, I don't want titles, I don't want commitment, the whole polygamy thing, side chicks, all that stuff is like culturally rampant,
Yes.
So even though you could be a woman of God, you could be in the church and all those different things, but the culture still has an effect, and it's still affecting how we date, and how we mingle and get to know one another. So everything you're saying is very helpful, to navigate, your single process and what you're looking for, what you stand for. Wouldn't you say it's important, just male and female, to, you said it, know what it is you desire,
Yes. Yeah, I think the point you're making, Toy, is a good one. And I think the key is this. The key is knowing what you desire, but in my experience, it's the things that you don't do that gets the person sometimes more than the things you do. And in this scenario, if you're dealing with a man who likes you, but you're kind of enduring treatment that's not really at the level that you would like because the rules of dating have changed and all that, you have to ask yourself, well, how do I feel? How does this make me feel? No, I'm going to put my health, my heart, and my wholeness first. And if I'm dating someone and they hurt my health, my wholeness, or my heart, that's a good sign that I don't want to endure that. I don't want to endure it. And I think when you've been in enough painful situations, you got to remind yourself of, like, should I really do this? And I listen, I think it's better to be alone and to be whole and to have your heart intact than to be with someone where you always feel broken in some way. And you never fully have peace because your heart is in so much pain, because you can't really have all of them because all of them is not available to you.
Wow.
Okay, this is another one. What makes a man fall in love with you?
Uh-oh, Pastor Taffy, we can't hear you. Say that again.
This is a question from Sandra. She asks, what makes a man fall in love with you?
I think you're on mute. Can you hear her, Toya?
I can hear her. She said, can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
You can ask for you if he can't hear me.
The question was, what makes a man fall in love with you?
What makes a man? There is nothing that can make a man fall in love with a woman per se. Here's what I would say, though.
That's the $10 million question.
A woman who is clear about herself, who she is, who has standards, who has values. I would say a woman who also, going back to the question about communication, I think that as a woman in a dating situation, if you're in a situation, I would never go into it thinking like, how do I get a man to fall in love with me? I would just say, I'm going to be the best version of me and see if this is meant to be. And what are the things in that relationship that may get his heart open? It's very simple. Are you interested in what he's doing?
That's good.
Too often, the fight in a relationship is, and I don't mean to overgeneralize, but I will generalize for a moment to articulate a point. The fight in the relationship is, I want more time. Why don't you spend more time with me? Or why don't we do this? Time. That's cool. But have you asked him, what makes you tick? What are you interested in? What are you trying to accomplish? Where are you going? And then take an interest in those interests. It doesn't mean that he shouldn't do the same, because of course he should. It should be a two-way street. But if you really want to try to open up a man's heart, you got to find out what's in his heart.
Wow.
And a lot of times it's just about, I want to go date and to the movies and all that. All that's fine and good.
But that sometimes is very surface.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want a man to open up, then you got to get in there and say, what's in your heart? You know, what are your worries? What are your fears? What makes you excited? What gives you anxiety? When you start to ask a man those questions, he has no choice but to open his heart. You know, and he begins to say, whoa, this woman doesn't want money. She's not even looking for sex. She's interested in me. Oh
Wow.
man.
That is so
That
good.
for you, I know this sounds crazy, but a lot of men, that doesn't always happen. As much as it may not happen for women, it doesn't happen for men.
Right.
So if you really want a man to open his heart to you, I would suggest some of those things and then see. Maybe love is meant to be. Maybe you don't love him. Maybe he opens up his heart and you say, I don't like what's in that heart. Oh, I'm moving on. Okay.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Wow. Pastor Taffy, you had a question?
Just a comment. That's really good. It goes back to really what you were saying in the beginning, creating that safe zone for your man or your husband to
I can't hear her question, so you got to repeat it. Oh, I'm going to turn up YouTube. I can hear it here.
Yeah, I'm just commenting about accepting your man where you are.
So you got to repeat it.
Oh, okay. I hear it here. Yeah, or you can go to the next question.
Oh, yeah. So, what are your thoughts about one question for the single women, and I have a question for the married women as well. One last question for the single women: the independent woman idea, or the women are in the workforce, they're kind of forging their own way. They've taken new positions of power and authority across the board, from politics to sports, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And in the dating space, you're getting to know somebody, and sometimes, you just tell me, the idea of some men being intimidated by women who have their own, or women who are successful, women who maybe make more money than them, all those types of things. What is your thoughts on independent women, successful women in relationships with men who maybe, not that they're not as successful, maybe just successful in a different way, or just navigating that whole idea?
Yeah, I know this has created some tension, in the past, and I know that it continues to do so. So here's what I would say. As a woman, you have to become everything God called you to be. You have to do everything He's called you to do. You cannot, dim your light or your success to make anyone feel comfortable. When Megan and I, started dating, and then when we got married, she made more money than me. Was I insecure about that? No. I said, hallelujah, two become one. I just got an increase. Thank you, Jesus. I wasn't mad at all. I was like, yes. Her success didn't make me insecure. I said, thank you, Lord. Man, Lord, you think a lot of me. You gave me somebody I love, and wow, we got some more money. I'm not mad.
Look at that.
I think that as men, if a man is feeling insecure about a woman's success, it's a reflection of him, not her.
Wow.
And I think like for a man, you don't need her to feel inferior for you to be superior. Like the more that she feels superior in her calling, the more you both are superior in the relationship. And both of you should feel like you can be your best self. And money is not an indicator of anything at all. Money is basically a return for service. So if the man is a teacher and the woman owns a business and the woman happens to make more money, it's relative. He may be making as much money as he could as a teacher, but it's never going to equate what she's making as a business owner. But it doesn't mean that it's unequal. Mm-hmm. It's proportionate. So it's really important for a man to identify in why is her success making me feel insecure, and instead of attacking her, attack the point of your insecurity and work to become more secure. And if you're a woman, do not dim your light, do not slow down your progress, do not feel like your acceleration is going to leave you alone. It won't. You may have to be open to love, in a different way, meaning, maybe it's going to be someone of a different race. Maybe they're going to be a little bit shorter or taller than your preference. Your preferences may have to change, but not your success or your purpose. That won't need to change, I don't believe.
Wow. That's good news.
That's
so
good news.
that's good news.
Yeah.
It is. Also for the married women, you've been married for some time now. You know, after so long, after you get married, you know, you kind of settle into life, settle into your routine. The honeymoon, so to speak, phase is over, right? How do you keep the flame burning? You know, how do you keep things fresh? How do you keep things exciting after you've been married for a while?
You know, here's how you do it. And this is going to sound totally, counterproductive. As you are married, I've been married for 8 years. It's not about, I think when you apply the theatrics of dating to marriage, it starts to wear thin. Here's what I mean by that. In dating, I'm going to wine you and dine you. I'm going to, set up the most romantic thing over here and do this and do that. And I'm going to put on a presentation. It's all great. I love it. That's fun. You can do that in marriage, and having those moments are important. However, the way to keep it fresh is through intimacy. Here's what I mean by that. When you say I do, the person you're saying I do to begins to change the very moment after you say I do. So as we change, what happens is that we start to want the person to be who they were instead of appreciating who they are. And whenever you don't appreciate who the person is, there begins to be more tension in the relationship. The flame starts to go down. And so you may be trying to, have a great night and, great sex and all that. But if earlier in the day, there was some friction because you don't feel accepted or they don't feel accepted, it's going to mess up what you're trying to do in the bedroom. So in order to keep the flame burning, it takes that intimacy of conversation, that intimacy of interest. What are you interested in? What is she interested in? Are we continuously staying plugged into each other communication-wise? When you do that, the intimacy stays. That intimacy helps the romance instead of using the romance to solve the intimacy. Because, when we watch all these movies and TV shows, there's no intimacy. There's just romance. You can romance someone all day long. If there's no intimacy, it ain't going to work. So as I've been married now for 8 years, the thing I'm working on, and I haven't perfected it, but I work on that intimacy, that communication, that connection, that interest, so that as that is there, I believe that's what keeps the relationship healthy and interesting.
That is so good. So do you feel like men are as interested in romance?
Toy, can you repeat what Pastor Taffy is saying? Because I still can't hear her, but I can hear you.
Okay. Pastor Taffy asked, do you think men are still as interested in romance as maybe they once were before?
Or as
I think so. I think so. I think that, I think with the romance, just in my, point of view, I think that if it's like a two-way street, where you both are like making it fun, it's like, all right, well, okay, tonight, hey, I got something planned for you. Okay, great. And then it's like, ooh, that was great. Okay, next week I got same night. Okay, I'm gonna do something. So the more you can make it fun, the more you can make it almost a game, then I think the more that romance can still stay alive in the marriage.
So the men want to be romanced too, right?
They
need romance too. They need your wife to keep the romance going toward you as well, and not just always, because you always see women being romanced.
Yes.
But you don't often see men being romanced, because I think there's an idea or a thought that men aren't really into it like that.
No, I don't think that's true. I think that men are into romance for sure, because here's what happens. It's like, I don't know why this happens, but it's like you get into marriage, and it's like, okay, all of a sudden, you know, it's like most of the time, you know, the man may be interested, but the wife ain't. You're like, what's going on? What's happening? What did I miss something? You know, so the idea that the wife is romantic in saying, hey, I'm planning this. I mean, there is no man I know that would be upset with that. They're like, oh, great, this is wonderful. You know, this is an answer to our prayers.
So you're telling the women to take more initiative as well.
In marriage, absolutely take initiative. Let him take initiative. Everybody just take it. You know, everybody. Like don't just wait. You know what I mean? Like, oh well, you know, just have at it. But I do think that men really do want that romance and would respond to it more if there was more of it.
Now let me ask you this. You know, everyone says men are visual and, you know, so on and so forth, as if women aren't. But it's the idea that men are constantly thinking about sex, or their minds are always on sex, or they want it constantly, every day, all day. Is this true? That men have an insatiable sexual appetite that just never ends and never quits?
No, I wouldn't say that it's true to that degree, but yes, you know, usually in every myth there is some truth. So for sure there is some truth to that. And yes, being visual and having a desire or an appetite, you know, in marriage, I think that is absolutely true. But I think the key is to find the balance so that both of you are really honest about your appetites and you work towards, you know, finding a happy medium. Because one of the greatest pressures in marriage is the expectation that my appetite is your appetite. And your appetite is my appetite. That is not usually the case. So it's important to communicate the appetite and then come to an agreement about what works for both. So that if you are in a marriage where you know, your husband does want sex all the time, and for whatever reason, you know, you may not, let's just say, it's important to find a happy medium. Or you may want to go as a woman all the time, and your husband doesn't want to go as much. Okay, well, what's the happy medium that we can agree to so that we both feel like we have some fulfillment in that area?
And now on that point, and Pastor Taffy, if you have a question, just jump in.
Okay.
Yes.
On that same point, for single women, what do you say to women who, women or maybe even men, I'm sure, have this same idea about, I don't want to marry somebody and the sex isn't good. So what do you, no, there's a lot of women who are like, I need to know it's good before I get married, or men who feel the same way.
Test drive, huh?
Test drive, test drive. They want a sample. They want a little bite size.
Okay. So here's what I would say. I would say a number of things. One, let me talk to it from a faith perspective. So let me answer that, and then I can answer it for those who may not have a faith perspective. So from a faith perspective, we walk by faith, not by sight. Very important. So if you have come in contact with, you know, someone that you really are caring about, and there is a chemistry there, you know, I do think, you know, we talk about it, Megan and I talk about in our book, The Wait, passion chemistry. Just because you aren't having sex with that person, it doesn't mean that you still don't evaluate if there's some chemistry there. If there's no chemistry, if there is no attraction, if there's no even intensity between you two, that may be a good indicator that maybe if you were to do it, it's not there. So it's really important, even in the absence of having sex, to understand that, oh yeah, you know, okay, we kissed, that's it. Okay, I'm backing up because I felt something on that. No, right? Like, you still got to understand there's some passion chemistry. Here's what I would say though. When we go back to a faith perspective, we walk by faith, not by sight. If this is the one that God has for you, would he require you to compromise one of his principles in order to know if that person is the right one? Doesn't make any sense. It's like, no, this is the one who God has for me. And God knows that this person is with work, maybe with some therapy, maybe with some coaching, can please me. God created us. He knew this person was right for me. So by faith, I am going to say yes. And I am going to wait by faith. I've evaluated the chemistry. I trust God. I'm going to wait. Here's what I know. When you look at the reason why people get divorced, bad sex is not like even in the top 5 because there are so many more issues in marriage beyond sex and if it's good or not. Most of the time people are getting divorced over money. They're getting divorced over children. They're getting divorced because they grew apart. So I think that this idea of I've got to taste it before I have it has actually done more harm in my experience than good. And then if you are someone who may not be of faith, well, do you have to test it out? Well, no. Again, I don't believe you do. You're going to get it anyway. You're going to get it anyway. If this is marriage, wait, it's happening. And the other thing is between sex therapy and books and couples groups, you can teach somebody how to please you.
Come on.
And that person can teach you how to please them. So I would still lay a foundation of commitment, of discipline, of real communication. Because if you have that, your marriage is positioned to last. You could have the best sex in the world and your marriage still fail.
Yeah.
Good sex is not an indicator of a lasting marriage. It's just not.
So even if you kiss,
make sure you communicate. Translate for Pastor Taffy so I can hear what you're saying.
Someone after not having had sex with them, and the sex is bad coming out of the gate, you can get better by communicating and working at it.
She's reiterating what you said, basically that even if you kiss and, once you do get married, and the kiss is an indicator that it's good, but once you get married and it's like, there's still hope for you. Like that's not it. You can still work on it. You can develop, you can get help and assistance and grow. But I think that's what relationships are about, growth anyway. You don't end up where you start.
That's right.
That's right.
You start and you continue to grow and expand. So that's good news. And God set things up that way, that we're never stuck,
Never.
So never. I know I don't know how much time we have, but we're in quarantine right now. How's your quarantine going?
It's going good. We're just taking it one moment at a time. That's what we're doing. But no complaints. We've been apart for some time in terms of her shooting movies and me, on the road, producing and speaking. So it's good to both of us to be home and get a chance to spend time. And, and I've been working crazy. So she's still been getting on me about that. But it's still nice that we're under the same roof and can get a chance to enjoy each other, for a little while. So it's going well.
So let's say we have a couple quarantined together and they are not having that great of an experience. They are at each other's throats. They are not getting along. They are just in the struggle right now, because they're having to spend more. She's like, as Taffy's like, yeah, they're like, when is the shelter in place going to be lifted so I can get out? What are some of your processes or tips for conflict resolution, like from your own relationship or your own marriage, when things are a little tough or rough, how you guys reconcile or come back and find a place of peace?
Yeah, so this is really important. So during this pandemic, it's increased the pressure in marriages because people are spending more time around each other than they probably have in a very long time. It's really important, going back to a point we made earlier, that when you don't spend a lot of time and you're running, there could be changes that happen in your spouse that you aren't even aware of. So during the quarantine, why is there so much tension between marriages? Is because it's two people who don't know each other anymore. And they're trying to hold each other to the image of who they thought they were. So as a result, there's a lot of tension. So one of the ways to deal with that is, again, first, accept. Okay, you know what? She's different than I thought, or he's different than I thought. Okay, I'm going to accept that. Again, going back to a faith perspective, if God has allowed this to happen to us, it's for our good, it's not for our detriment. So instead of trying to hold this marriage to the standard of what I think it should be, let me just accept what it is and build from there. Because a lot of times we don't want to rebuild anything. We just want it to be an instantly great marriage.
Right.
Well, maybe the pandemic is revealing there were some problems that you didn't have time to sort out. So now there's a chance to sort out those problems. But instead of sorting out the problems, you keep looking at each other as the problem. No, this is a perfect opportunity to work through those problems together by accepting and by working together to say, okay, how do we get to know each other again? How do we get to understand what our thoughts are, our fears are, our hopes are, our dreams are? Let's rebuild this again. Look at the potter in Jeremiah. Isaiah, excuse me. It was Jeremiah, if I'm correct. Anyway, the potter's house. He said, go down, look at the potter. When the clay got messed up, he didn't throw out the clay. He rebuilt a new vessel from the same materials. This pandemic is an awesome opportunity to get your marriage rebuilt with the same materials. But you can come out of the pandemic looking totally different, closer than you've ever been, more appreciation than you've ever had, a stronger connection than there's ever been. But you got to work through some of the challenges in order to do that. You know, Megan and I, we practice communication. We talk about everything. You know, there's some things that's like, okay, babe, let's talk about this, you know. And then she would say, okay, here's what I'm thinking. And I'm also working on, you know how as men, when our wives start talking, we want to say something real quick. And she would say, babe, you're cutting me off. I'm like, okay, you're right. Okay. Trying to be a good listener here. I'm listening. But it's by having these conversations and really working at it. And not looking at the proximity as a problem, right? The proximity is not the problem. If anything, the proximity could be revealing that there already is the problem. So I think that any marriage can make it through it if they make the choice. If they just decide, if both husband and wife say, we're going to make it through this, it's a little bumpy, it's a little rocky, but look at a plane, you know, turbulence. All right, well, that's just part of the journey. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get there safely. You will. We're going to hit some bumps. It's all right. Don't relax. Don't, get upset. Relax. We're going to be okay. And also, I would encourage couples that are really going through it, get a marriage therapist, get a counselor. You can set up a Zoom meeting, a FaceTime meeting right now. You can get therapy right now. Bring someone else in who's impartial, who can help you sort through the challenges and give you tools on how to navigate this moment. That's what I would say to anyone struggling right now.
That's good advice. Really good. Really, really good. I mean, we need hope right now. And I mean, we've all had to adjust quickly to a lot of different things, a lot of changes in the world and how we're accustomed to functioning. You know, some people are now homeschool teacher, on the spot, on the fly, and, learning to do that. And it's a lot, but, God is faithful. To your point, we can come out of this, all of us, better. We can come out having grown, having learned, and evolved in one way or the other. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, Toy, one thing I just want to add real quick. One of the reasons also why there's a lot of tension is because spouses feel that their needs are not being met. And if you feel like your need is not being met, you're going to be upset about it. Or when you feel like your need is met, I mean, think about it. If you're married and your spouse is meeting all of your needs, you don't have any complaints. You may be the situation may be stressful because you have kids or whatever, but you're not complaining about the person because they're meeting your needs. So I think any relationship has to commit themselves to meeting the needs of the other. And if those needs are met, I guarantee you the tension in the relationship is going to go down quite significantly.
Right. I think Pastor Dollar and Pastor Taffy say it all the time about focusing on meeting the needs of your partner above yourself. And so if I'm focusing on you as my number one priority and I'm making you happy and I'm thinking about what, serves you best, and we're kind of out serving each other. That eliminates the tension. That eliminates, you're not meeting my need. If you focus more, each person is focusing on the other person, and that exchange of servanthood between the two, husband and wife.
Yes, I agree. I love that. Pastor Taffy is 1000% right. That is the way to do it for sure.
Yes. Pastor Taffy, did you have anything?
I'm so pleased. Devon, I thought you were going to tell us to, swing on the chandeliers and do cartwheels in the bedroom and all these things to try to, create intimacy in the marriage. But it's just been really good practical things and creating a safe zone with opening up with our husbands to understand male vulnerability and intimacy. And we'll just continue to work at it. It doesn't happen overnight. And sometimes you think about all these other things, but it's really just communication and getting rid of the fear and opening up and doing all the things that you can do and allowing the Holy Spirit to even lead you. So this is good.
Did you hear that?
No, but I'm waiting for you to translate. I know everybody else did. So just go ahead and translate for me, Toya.
She said she's so glad you didn't get on this live tonight. Tell us you need to swing from the chandeliers and do all this kind of stuff in order to create intimacy in our marriages, in order to please our husbands. She said that you came with so much amazing information, wisdom, and insight, and communication. How you spoke a lot about communication and the importance of just communicating to one another to create that level of intimacy, and we're all getting better. That's all of our goals. And she also mentioned male vulnerability, how you spoke about that, but how part of our responsibility as women is to create safe spaces for the men in our lives to be vulnerable.
Yes, so true. So true. 1000%. 1000%. And when that safe space is there, it really can help not only the man heal and open up, but it can also help the relationship go to another level. And it will also model to him the safe space that the woman needs too. So that's important. It's not just for him, it's for the both.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I think, Toya, as women, we have to be in a place of safety in ourselves. Because sometimes we look for what we don't have and look for things that we want in other people that we've not created or established within. So we really have to be honest with where we are in order for others to be in a place of wanting to be honest and vulnerable too.
Right.
Yeah, it works both ways.
She was talking about your point about it working both ways. It's kind of like a seed time and harvest thing. Whereas, as women, we also want to feel safe. In a relationship, we want a safe space, and the importance of us doing that and receiving that in return. So it's kind of like, oh, I want to feel safe, but you're not, male or female, you're not creating a safe space for your partner while asking for a safe space. So the importance of it being both sides, two-sided. We create a safe space for the men in our lives, and the men in our lives also doing that, and vice versa.
Amen. Amen. Very true.
Yeah. Well, did we have any questions online you wanted to take, Pastor Taffy?
I have lots of questions.
I know, tons of questions here.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. They were going in while we were talking. So she's looking now to see if we have any questions. Any final questions? Thank you so much again for your time. Can you tell us, while we look for a question, where do we get your books? Not just the recent release, but all of your other releases and any other things that you're working on that we should know about.
Sure. I mean, you can go to my website, devonfranklin.com. All my books are there for sale. I also have a weekly email blast that I send out called Mentor Mail. You can sign up for that. I give information about relationships, career, spiritual advice, and really just trying to keep our community inspired.
Yes. Yes, I get the mentor email. It's really good and informative. So thank you for.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're
Thank
welcome.
you. So you can go to. We also have it posted here. You can get
nice. On Amazon. Yep, that would be great. Yep, you can go to Amazon and get it right now. The Truth About Men, what men and women need to know.
Yep, you can click on that link and you can purchase it today. It's a great time to read a new book. It's a good time to get some information, to find out, how to better communicate and relate to the men in your lives. Women, we need this. It's always beneficial to have healthy relationships. And there's so much information out there. Grateful for this book. I know some people in preparation for tonight were already posting that they had already purchased the book just in preparing
wow.
tonight.
Amazing.
Yeah. So go out and get the book today, ladies. Make sure you get a copy of it. Any questions?
I think we've done pretty good. Some of them may have gone by earlier, but from what I'm scrolling through, it seems like everybody's enjoyed it. Another night where ladies got lots of answers and got a lot of good insight.
She said, it looks like we covered most of the questions.
All right.
So it seems like all of our ladies, it was a successful conversation. A lot of their questions were answered. And anything that was answered, I'm sure they can find it in your book, right?
You got that right. It's a whole lot more where this came from.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. We so appreciate your time. Hope that it's not the last time. Hope that you guys continue to stay safe and are tremendously blessed beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. We appreciate your time. Thank you for all your questions and interaction and feedback. And we will see everybody soon.
Yes, thank you both. Thank you, Pastor Taffy. Thank you, Toya. Please give Dr. Dollar my regards. I'm just so honored to be here with y'all tonight, and I can't wait to see you when this pandemic is over.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.